I got a window seat, an aisle seat, because the intention was, person sitting next to me, my wife's right there, would you like to switch? And she looks at me and she says, well, does it really matter if we sit next to each other?
What a start to the getaway.
And we didn't sit next to each other. I don't know if that means we're in trouble or just completely comfortable with where
You're
we're
like
at.
that locker room where everybody just says everything's okay, but there's clear signs that we don't like being around each other.
Yeah. So anyway. Welcome to the Fitz and Whit podcast presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. I'm Fitz and he's Whit. And Whit, the crown really is yours this week. We had the picks going all year in Thursday night football. And I'm ashamed to say you beat me. You're a champion as always. Congratulations. What do you have to say?
Listen, Fitz, I mean, in these situations, I feel like, I got to take the high road, man. I mean, it was a hard work. A lot of effort and energy went into it. Listen, I don't want to take a lot of credit. I mean, I will say, the belt did look kind of awkward going through all the airports as I was traveling this weekend. But
you brought that with you through the airport? Is it a carry-on or is it do you put it in your bag or a carry-on?
It was awkward. I got stopped at security. The guy wanted to check my bag. And I said, hey, listen, I won this thing outright. You can't take it. And I think he thinks I'm in the WWE now. But either way, he didn't get it. But here's the real dilemma I have here, because like I said, I like to be, I don't want to brag about myself. So to me, it's just to the decisions you have, right? So I look at it at home. Do I put it in between the Walter and the Lombardi? Or is it better off on the shelf in between the 3 LHAA state championship trophies and then the BCS Sugar Bowl Crystal Ball trophy for the national championship? I'm just trying to figure out, for me, it's I don't know where the best place to put it is because I want to give it its due, but at the same time, I don't want to take a lot of credit or boast about things that I've accomplished. Does that make sense? I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just
you're a humble man. I love it.
Yeah. You're not going to listen to any of my accomplishments. I'm just going to keep it moving. You know what I mean? And we're going to, we got a lot of good stuff to talk about today on the Whit and Fitz pod. And let's roll.
Yeah, it's Fitz and Whit, as you know, and not Whit and Fitz, but here we go. All right, on today's show.
You heard me.
So we're going to recap a wild card weekend that was, We're going to give you a divisional round preview and the top seed that might be in trouble in these playoffs. And then Whit, a little something we like to call accountability.
That's exactly right, Fitz. I mean, if you think about it, throughout the year, we got a lot of opinions. There's some things that we've been right about and some
Hot
that
takes.
we maybe, I think that's what the cool kids call it. But some of them we might have been a little off on. So I think we're going to take some credit for the ones we got right, of course. But we're also going to take the blame for the ones we got wrong today, Fitz.
Hey, we got to hold ourselves accountable. I'm excited for that. Also, a little bit nervous about one of the two things I've said over the last few months.
Would it have to do with a pumpkin or no?
There's multiple things, but I've had a couple good ones too. Before we get into that, though, I know your life has been crazy. Obviously, LA, and let's just check in on you, on your family, everything going on with the wildfires. It's been absolutely crazy. How we doing, buddy?
Things are good. I mean, obviously for us this time, in 2018, the fires were really close to us. We were evacuated for multiple weeks. But this year, it hasn't been something that's been right near us. We did have to, get ready to evacuate. But man, for the city of Los Angeles and just our entire region, it's been a devastating last week. And it's been really tough on everyone. It's very emotional. I know even from our crew, we have a lot of people that live in LA, a lot of people that were affected. So it was an emotional week, that's for sure. And I can remember, Fitz, going back to Hurricane Katrina. That was my senior year at LSU. So that devastation really, what it does to people and the things that when people lose their homes and they lose their possessions and get uprooted from what their daily, just everything is, right? Your grind, what you do every day and your rhythm. It's something that really hurts and it's hard. And it's just like a death or a loss, anything else, there's a grieving period. So I think for us, man, our hearts go out to those people. But at the same time, hopefully today we can have a little fun and give people an hour away from it. Because that's something I learned, Fitz. When I was a young college kid, a senior in college, we thought, hey, this happened, like, man, just forget our games, like cancel them if that's what's going to, like, put people at more burden to come to our football games or to come do these things. And then we would meet people who were like, hey, dude, I lost my house. I lost all these things, but I still have season tickets to the LSU Tigers. And like that 3 hours to just get away from all the negative that I have to think about right now and all the challenges that are sitting in front of me are some of the greatest 3 hours I have in my week, because it's just a relief away from that. And so I think sometimes you forget, man, like we are in the entertainment business, no different than this podcast. And then as athletes that, sometimes it's for entertainment of joy, and sometimes it's for entertainment of, what people need, that escape from what it is in their day. And so, I'm happy to be a part of, obviously feeling the emotions of other people, but hopefully we keep moving forward. That's what we do as human beings and in life. And we rebuild, rebuild it better, hopefully, and inspire some people positively along the way. But having said that, Fitz, one of the things I want to give people, if you do want to support in Los Angeles, I know two of the things that the Rams have partnered with, and I'll be helping them with, obviously ways we can support the community. You can go to supportlafd.org/give or go to the Red Cross, www.redcross.org. Those are two organizations that the Rams and myself are going to do some things with. And obviously there's many ways you can help, but our hearts go out to that community right now.
Yeah. So in 2017, when we went to Tampa, almost immediately after we bought our house and got settled there, hurricane came in and we were in the evacuation zone. It's such a weird feeling being evacuated, not knowing what you're coming back to. Ours ended up being okay. I can't imagine coming back, seeing that you've lost everything. But we, like you said, the Amazon people that we work with, a lot of them based in LA, they had some real bad stories. But I was, moving on from that, and just to give people the escape, I was at CES for Amazon this weekend, and we did a little sit down as me, Taylor Rooks, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Blake Griffin.
Oh, that's a crew.
Dude, it was great. It was so much fun. For a while, they didn't know if Taylor was going to get out of LA, so they were going to put me in charge, asking questions, and I think it would have gotten off the rails quickly. So I'm glad that Taylor got out to LA, out of LA.
I can't imagine you, Blake, and Dale wouldn't have got into some stuff.
Yeah, there would have been some interesting content there, but Taylor did a great job. It was just a sit down, talking to a bunch of people, and Blake's going to be amazing for Amazon and the NBA coverage they're going to have. Dale is going to be amazing for Amazon and the NASCAR coverage and his insights. Super cool. And then for me too, it was a quick little 36-hour trip with my wife Liza. We never get away.
Oh, Liza got out the house?
Liza got out the house. We go to Vegas.
Come on, Liz.
I want to tell you two quick things about I think it was from Thursday to fly back Friday. But first thing, we both fly in first class, got to treat her the right way.
Ooh, no Southwest. All right.
It wasn't Southwest, even though it's only like a 45-minute flight. But we buy the tickets and late enough to where we're not sitting next to each other. And so as we're walking onto the plane, I said, hey,
only you takes your wife on a trip where you're not.
Hold on. No. I got a window seat, an aisle seat, because the intention was when we get on the flight, I can ask somebody sitting next to her, hey, do you want to switch, or vice versa? The person sitting next to me, my wife's right there. Would you like to switch? And so we're walking boarding the plane. I'm explaining to her the situation. And she looks at me and she says, well, I'm going to be reading my book and you're going to fall asleep. Does it really matter if we sit next to each other? And
what a start, honey. What a start to the getaway.
And we didn't sit next to each other on the plane. I don't know if that means we're in trouble or just completely comfortable with where
You're
we're
like
at.
That locker room where everybody just says everything's okay, but there's clear signs that we don't like being around each other.
Yeah. So anyway, I fell asleep.
Did you read a book about inspiration?
No, I fell asleep.
While you were sitting in your seat? Oh, okay.
Completely. Just marriage counseling 101. No, I fell asleep. She was exactly right. She got to read her book. I wasn't bothering her, but we had a very nice time. The best part about it, though, We do the Amazon deal. We go to eat at Carbone after with some of the people. Awesome night. So much fun. Good company. And once Carbone's over, we're getting ready to leave. It's 10:30. We're in Vegas. We don't have the kids.
Oh, it's a night out.
Looking forward to a big night. Let's do this. I look at her. She looks at me. I kind of want to go to bed. What? Yeah, me too. Okay. We just went to bed. No Vegas, no gambling, but it was wonderful. It was a wonderful trip just to get out for 36 hours, come back to the chaos. But yeah, no gambling, no partying, didn't sit next to each other on the way out.
My takeaway from that is I really just didn't know that you and Liza travel like Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown together. It's great.
Whoa. I guess A.J. Brown was reading his book on the sideline, wasn't
That's
he?
right. Yeah.
I just think that means we're officially old. I'll say this. You talked about accountability. I do want to take a look back, and I think we're just going to weave in and out of that throughout this episode. I was trying to come up with a segment name, Tale of the Takes. No, that doesn't work. The Takedown. Hot takes gone wrong. So we went back and took some of the takes that we had, and we'll just weave them in and out of the games we're talking about, give ourselves credit, give ourselves blame. But I want to start with a good one. And we were both kind of on the same page here, but Whit tried to warn those Steelers fans that they were in trouble.
There you go. You know what? You were right. 4 games to go. They lose 4 straight. The Ravens win 4 straight. You said it was coming, and the Ravens were going to walk them down, and sure enough, they did. And then we get in the playoffs, and what happens? Rush struggles, Lamar balls, and here we go.
Yeah, but let's talk about that game for a second. I mean, the Ravens are hot right now, and that game, just playoff football, the cold weather, all that stuff, the brand of football they're playing right now. I think the story for them, aside from the obvious, Lamar, is he the MVP, and Derrick Henry and what he's done this year, the defensive turnaround has been insane. I don't know if we've ever seen this before in the NFL, where they were so bad on the back end at the first part of the year. They move some guys around. They make some changes. I think a lot of credit does need to be given to Zach Orr. Dean Pease is helping out a little bit. Maybe you could see some of his influence, but Hamilton in the back now. Ardarius, we were calling him Earl Darius for a while because Sherm just thinks he reminds him so much of Earl Thomas, the way he flies around, and Marlon Humphrey being able to move inside and play in the nickel position. They're now, the back half of the year, they've been the best defense in the NFL, and it's just been amazing to see the turnaround this year.
It has. And, and I touched on this on our broadcast, really you talk about Zach Orr and the job he's done. I mean, much less hey, I love seeing some of these former players that are getting their opportunities. And it seems like it's just everywhere right now that we keep bringing this up. But another guy, you struggle. You're taking over for Mike Macdonald, who obviously had an amazing defense last year. There's a lot of pressure there. You're probably going to try and replicate a lot of things he did already, and you might have some thoughts of what you want to do. But it takes a while to get a feel for who are you and what are you the most comfortable doing, and where do you communicate the best? Not just whether your players receive it, but how do you communicate the best, and how do you get a good feel of calling games? Because that is what it is. I mean, a lot of times we talk about plays and designs and all this stuff, offensively, defensively, but it also comes down to you in the game, in the moment. What are your go-tos? What are the things you believe in, the philosophies that when you get in those stressful environments, no different than when you played, you're going to lean on. And I think to look at him adjust this defense the way he did, really giving people solid positions he wants them to play all the time, because we're bouncing around too much, and that seems to be confusion and people being left open, to even adjusting to me, which I think is a big thing, adjusting how we even meet. They talked about the defensive players. We adjusted how we are even going to do our daily date. We're going to change that as well. And we're going to start meeting together as a group so that there's this shared accountability across us. Hey, we're all together in this new, Zach's new, let's sit in the room and listen to our defensive coordinator explain what our jobs are, who needs to be accountable where. I mean, that to me has been a real big part as well, is that ability to not only adjust on the field, but adjust off of it to develop what? NFL players, NFL teams, what are they all searching for? Confidence and belief in what they do. That's why all different systems work, because it's the systems where guys are confident in it, they believe in it, and they play that way.
Yeah, and I will add to that, we talk about quarterbacks developing, how they don't ever get any time. And, this situation could have gone poorly if they lose a ton of those games early, but they have one of the most explosive and the best offenses in the NFL. And so even something like that, where you can get away with it in some of these games because the offense has been so good and they've been putting up so many points, he had a little bit of time to learn, to figure it out, to settle into his seat. And it's a great story this year, and one of the best I think we need to talk about, and hopefully we'll talk about a little bit more in the playoffs. But I also hope their run comes to an end this week.
Yeah, I was about to say, do you want to talk about them more? I don't know if you do.
I'm nervous. I'm so nervous. But I think the biggest and most awesome part of our playoff game was the second drive by the Ravens. 13 plays, 0 pass plays. They went all the way down. They scored. And at that point, the game was over. But we had Lamar on the set afterwards. He gave a great interview. He had some great, really funny one-liners. I think he was shocked that they didn't call or didn't have a pass play on that drive. But there was a lot of stuff where it was just the zone read stuff, and they kept crashing down on Derrick Henry. And so it called for Lamar to pull the ball. And you just look at the impact that he has on a football game. Sometimes stuff doesn't show up in the stat line. For him, Derrick Henry, 26 carries, 186 yards, 2 touchdowns. This is a very scary team for the playoffs.
It is. You look at it sometimes and you go, now, how did we end up with two of the just generational game-changing guys at their positions in the same offense with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson? I mean, you think of who they've been over their career already. Lamar, obviously, early in his career from the jump. Derrick Henry, throughout a long career, has been one of the most dominant backs in the league and done it in ways that people just flat out, as we talked about, are scared to death to get in front of him when he gets moving. How do we end up with those two guys in the same offense? And then when you talk about this Ravens team, all the things they can do to have those two guys who are as lead as it can be and be as dominant as they are. And then you got, all the personnel packages they play with. Hell, they got jumbo personnel in this game. I mean, they were doing anything they can because of who they have at tight end, at receiver, and everything else. We're talking about, oh man, Zay Flowers isn't playing. It didn't even matter.
Didn't matter. Yeah.
And so I think, to me, when you talk about the Ravens, that's why a lot of people feel great about them. And I don't know, Fitz, I know you don't like hearing me say it. I think they look really special, and we'll see. We'll see. We'll get there. We'll get there later. But
we're going to talk about it later. Save it. Don't get me all sad for the rest of the show.
Okay, Fitz,
here.
I have a question, though.
Yeah.
I do have a question. Can you have a short-term bad take, but a long-term good take? That's what I want to know, because I kind of feel that way.
Well, I want to give you some flowers on this one because you took a lot of heat. And I know you're referring to Russell Wilson. So Justin Fields is 4-2. He gets benched. They put Russell Wilson in. You said, look, I don't agree with this. I think that Justin Fields should still be playing. What happens? Russell Wilson then goes, I think, wins 7 of his next 8. We even had the Steelers. Taylor Rooks brings it up to Mike Tomlin in the interview. Mike Tomlin is giving you shit about what you were saying and called you out. And you had to kind of bury your head and say, oh, yeah, okay, Russ is doing great. Maybe I was wrong. But
what happened next?
Look at the last 5 games. Were you wrong, or was this take vindicated in the last 5 weeks? What do you think, Whit?
I think it's interesting. I mean, I think that in some ways, in those situations, when your offense is looking for some kind of spark, you enter a guy. I look at it a lot like how you start a season. Sometimes when you have new guys in, you can have a little bit of an explosion in your offense, and then teams kind of figure out, all right, this is who they are now, and we have to adjust to how we play. So if you look at Justin Fields starting 4-2, how the Steelers really played football, once Russell came in, it changed. And I think that he obviously had some success. We know George Pickens is a rare dude. And that wasn't really my point when I said I would rather stick with Justin Fields. The reason I felt like you need to stick with Justin Fields is exactly what I just said about Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry being in the same backfield. Watch how that game started. Did Lamar's throwing ability be what really started that game off? No, that game was started off with, all right, you pick who you want to tackle, because you can choose, if I'm playing with Justin Fields, Najee Harris. or me as Justin Fields, and we're going to spread you out. We're going to get in different personnel packages. The Steelers clearly in the first part of the season were, we want to run the football. We want to play great defense. Well, guess what a great defense needs? To not be on the field over and over and over again in tons of situations, for you to possess the football. What's the best way to do that? Run it well. So to me, I had that take because I thought the Pittsburgh Steelers were limited.
Uh-huh.
I do believe that. Mr. Unlimited, whatever, they're limited. Okay?
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
They're limited. So in my opinion, what is the best way for us to win going forward? Possess the football, run it well, play great defense. That was my take. And let Justin Fields grow into the position throughout the year and develop confidence through there. Because here's the reality. Yes, he brought spark. Russell did. But 7 out of 12 games while he was playing, I'm sitting here looking at it, less than 20 points scored. 7 out of 12 games, he threw for less than 200 yards.
You're feeling good about this take. Yeah.
I look at their offense and I say, all right, let's go look at, top speeds. We talk about all the time in offense. Who brings speed? Who brings speed to an offense, right?
Yeah.
263 carries Najee Harris had. Okay. He was over 15 miles an hour 27 times. You know who else was over 15 miles an hour 27 times?
Russell Wilson?
Fields.
Oh, Justin Fields. Okay.
He only had 62 rushes. All right. My point is that that's something that brings something to your offense. And so to me, listen, I don't even need an apology. I actually don't need an apology. I think this was a short-term bad take, long-term good take.
Okay. So one thumb up, one thumb down. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'll say this, just final thing about the Russell Wilson stuff. It really worked because of what you said initially, which was they were a run-first team, load the box, one-on-one on the outside. Russell Wilson, one of the best go ball throwers of all time. He lives outside the numbers, one-on-one matchups. He's great at that. But when teams figured out, specifically at the end of the year, when they figured out, wait a minute, they're not running the ball as great as they were. We can sit back in zones. We're not going to give them the shots and the explosives on the outside. You just saw their offensive production fall off a cliff. Yep. And so, and credit to Tomlin for not just flip-flopping and going back and forth and sticking to his guns.
Well, and to give him credit, Fields was hurt for a little bit too. They did try something. He got injured for a little bit. Yeah.
But that was an absolute juggernaut they ran into as well in the playoffs. So I don't know that it really changes
anything. I don't think they're beating the Ravens either way.
No. Playoffs? We're talking about playoffs? You bet we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning in the playoffs. And you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score 6. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. Here, I'll give you a couple easy ones. Derrick Henry, gonna score a touchdown. James Cook, he'll also score a touchdown. There's 2 we'll throw it at you. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Fitz and Whit. That's code Fitz and Whit for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp, reminding you that life isn't about resolutions that fade by February. It's about picking up the pen and becoming the author of your own life. Therapy is something that can be beneficial for everyone. It's helpful for learning positive coping skills, learning how to set boundaries, and empowering you to be the very best version of yourself. BetterHelp is fully online. It's affordable and it's convenient, serving over 5 million people worldwide. Access a diverse network of more than 30,000, yes, 30,000 credentialed therapists with a wide range of specialties. Write your story with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/FitzandWhit today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/FitzandWhit. I want to talk about Ravens-Bills.
Are you sure?
But first, let's talk about how the Bills got into this game. Let's talk about how they got into this game. Okay.
All right.
So let's go. Let's go to the Broncos-Bills game and just set it up by saying, you asked my opinion on, what I thought would happen in the game, how it would play out. This wasn't a hot take. I thought that they would handle them. They did. But, you were sending me text messages early because that first drive.
I was checking on Tate. I just want to make sure Tate was okay.
Poor Tate. We were actually on a plane flying back from Baltimore to get home. So we're both on our phones and they weren't synced up. And so he would react before I would, or I would react before him on some of the stuff. And that first drive, Sean Payton orchestrated great. Bo Nix put him in good situations, used a little bit of tempo, but the 43-yard touchdown pass to Troy Franklin, my phone starts going off. It's you. I'm looking. Tate's in full Zubaz Bills gear on the plane. His head is buried. He's so upset. But I said, Tate, calm down. It's going to be okay.
Going to be all right.
Thank goodness. How'd you think that game played out? Did it play out like you thought it was going to? And, what about the Bills' offensive performance in that game?
Hey, you were confident. You believed in how this game was going to go. So that's a good take. Listen, small take, but good take.
Yeah,
nonetheless.
Cold take, but yeah.
Yeah, that's all right. No, listen, I felt the same as Tate because I had picked the Bills in this game in my pick 'em, and so I was not real happy about the first drive. But hey, pretty cool, Fitz. First ever rookie to rookie touchdown pass. I thought that was wild. I just could not believe that. Bo Nix to Troy Franklin.
No, what you did, didn't you play? You played with Andy Dalton and AJ Green, right? Wasn't that
yeah?
Didn't Andy Dalton throw a touchdown?
No, here's the thing. We did go to the playoffs their rookie year, played in the opening round in Houston. Unfortunately, he did throw a touchdown, but it was not to rookie AJ Green. It was to a rookie named JJ Watt.
Oh,
nonetheless, that is a rookie to rookie if you want to count it that way.
And it was a touchdown.
I don't think that's how they put it in the books, though.
Let's put a little asterisk by that one.
And I looked pretty ugly on the other side. I was toppling. I think I went head over heels as JJ was running by me with the.
You didn't make the tackle? Did you have a chance?
I was not. Not a real athletic move by me. I was in that game, and it was not pretty.
Hold on, real quick. Sidebar. What do you pick? You have a chance to make a tackle. Are you just trying to slow him down and make him cut back? Are you doing like a fake pump the arms because there's no way you're getting to him? What was your strategy?
I'm rolling, Fitz.
That's true. You're quick.
I hit 18 miles an hour, 2017, chasing Melvin Ingram down. Yeah.
Did you wait? Hold on, chasing him. So did you actually get him?
I did not catch him, but I almost did. I was rolling.
I appreciate the effort.
Yeah, the effort. But no, I was usually the way back in the back guy, just running sideline to sideline. You're not really going after the guy. You're just kind of like, all right, everybody else is going to tackle him eventually, but I'll be way back here just in case,
Yeah, I was there's the Peyton Manning type where you just kind of fall to the ground and let him go, but nobody wants Peyton in on a tackle. And then I was the guy, probably much like Baker, where you're so mad you want to hit the guy and potentially injure your shoulder or hand or something because you're trying to kill him and not good at tackling. So I had a lot of opportunities to try to tackle, but didn't make a whole lot of tackles in my day. But the Bills, they rip off 31 straight points after that.
Dominated.
The crazy thing in the game was the time of possession. I mean, they had it for almost 42 minutes. And it was a really impressive, efficient performance by Josh. You can just tell, like, he's really grown. He's comfortable in this setting. Early on in the game when it was dicey, the touchdown pass, the 4th and 1, which they've already converted some 3rds and 4th downs. It must have been 1.5 because they didn't go with the Josh Allen quarterback sneak. They lined up in shotgun. He's running around to his right, and I'm like, oh, no, boy, okay. Realize he can't run to get the first down. He's got to throw it, and he finds Ty Johnson, who scoops it off of the deck, basically, in the back of the end zone. Kind of looked like his foot was out. Maybe it wasn't, but all was well after that, and the Bills just dominated and rolled.
They did, but, Fitz, I will say this, early in the game, he was handing it off to a guy, much like we've said that Lamar Jackson is real happy Derrick Henry's in Baltimore. I have been so impressed with James Cook, man. This dude, I was telling this last night, I was sitting around with some guys talking about it. It's impressive to me because they really just do a ton of duo runs with this guy, which you would normally think, like, I'm thinking of a powerful back or a guy who's going to hit up in there and kind of be a physical guy. But, man, his ability to really read, set blocks, which is really one of the biggest art to the running back position to me. It's not just your talent and skill sets, but the ability to really set blocks and then react and cut off of setting those blocks. He does a tremendous job, man. This is, to me, this is going to be an element for the Bills. It's going to be a massive part of whether they're successful in the playoffs, because they've now shown to me, which I think has been impressive, is moments this season throughout some big games where they can just hand the ball off to James Cook and rely on this to be production after production after production, which gives Josh a chance to get a feel for the game, get a feel for how the team's playing, and kind of get, like we talked about the other night in the Ravens-Steelers game. I thought the way the Ravens started calling the game was, hey, let's put Lamar in something he's done since he was a little kid, man, running with the football. Yeah. We're going to play a lot of little reads. He's going to get a chance to keep it, get out there and use his legs. And this is something he's done his entire life, and just gives him a chance to get his energy right, get feeling good and confident. And I thought for Josh, same way this game starts. Hey, we know what the Broncos are going to do. They're going to try and blitz. They're going to play a lot of man coverage. Hey, let's just go ahead and hand the football off some early and develop some confidence, get a good feel for our football team. And I know you get tired of me saying this, but again, the Buffalo Bills, what did they do? The most 6-0 linemen on the field to anybody this weekend. Come on, get the extra big guy out there. I thought it was a great plan by Aaron Cromer and Joe Brady in the run game put together to attack this team.
Hey, and the Anderson dude they bring in is scrappy too. He's always mixing it up.
Always in the middle of something at the end.
Yeah, there's always something going on with him at the end. Okay, before we go full on Bills-Ravens, we just keep waiting to talk about that game. I do want to let's talk about the Broncos for a minute and the success that they had this season. I think if you would have told them at the beginning of the season, look, Bo Nix was going to have the year that he was going to have, Cortland Sutton was going to have the year that he was going to have, the defense was going to be as good as they were, thinking back to last year and giving up 70 points to Miami and how far they've come from that moment, and they would have made the playoffs. I think that's a huge win for this franchise. The stuff they've been dealing with all the dead money, with Russ's contract, Sean Payton coming in, setting a culture. I think this team is set up for success in the future, but I'm assuming you got to agree with me that this was a huge win for the Broncos this year just to make the playoffs.
There's no doubt. I mean, I think Bo Nix has shown that he's somebody you're going to build around. I mean, listen, anytime your head coach is as vocal as Sean Payton was about Bo Nix being his guy, and then you go and take a rookie and you said he was your guy and you go to the playoffs, there is going to be nothing but confidence from that. And I brought up, obviously Andy Dalton and AJ Green earlier, but let's not forget when he got drafted in the second round, Carson Palmer was holding out. He ends up getting traded to the Raiders, and it became Andy Dalton as a rookie with AJ Green. And we were supposed to go 0-16. And the reality is same thing as the Broncos last week of the season. We get ourselves in the playoffs. We have a bad playoff game, but the reality is we weren't supposed to be there supposedly with a rookie quarterback. And then what does that lead to? 5 years in a row of going to the playoffs, winning the division multiple times. Like that put us in a position to go chase being better because we developed confidence because we didn't have a high, value of what we'd be either. And to get that moment, now all of a sudden everybody in the building's like, dude, we got a shot. And I think that's what they've created. And if you look at this team, some of the young pieces they've added, on offense, and then some of the outside rushers, obviously some of those guys, the way they played this season, I just think this is a team, once they get a little better salary cap situation, we've seen Sean Payton put together rosters before. I feel good about where the Denver Broncos are headed.
Yeah, they've definitely got a window. I don't know if you feel like Tony Romo, Tom Brady comparisons he was making to the broadcast, but they do have a window, with Bo and his rookie contract and the way that he played this year was really impressive. And he's a competitor that gets tossed around a lot, but like he loves the game of football and he loves playing. And you can tell he plays with like this youthful joy when he's out there. So that's contagious with your teammates. All right, I want to set the table with the expectations. Are
you ready to do this now? Have you built up you're ready now?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I just want to the recent history of the Bills. Okay. They hadn't won the AFC East since 1995 before they finally did it with Josh Allen. Now with Josh Allen, they've won it 5 straight years. In the 2000s, before Josh got there, they had the drought. Your good buddy Kyle Williams. They got to the playoffs, such an emotional moment for him, but they had been to the playoffs one time in the 2000s before Josh Allen. Now they've been there 6 years in a row. They've been in the divisional round 5 years in a row.
Yep.
So there's been this huge reset of expectations with the Buffalo Bills, and it all falls on Josh Allen, and it lines up with when he got there and how he's been able to turn around this franchise. It's been unbelievable. But here's the next part of it. They haven't played in a conference championship since 2020.
Yep.
If you remember in 2021, that was one of the most epic games ever. The Chiefs, 13 seconds, overtime thriller. Josh never sees the ball back. That was in Buffalo. 2022, also in Buffalo. They get beat up by the Bengals. And then last year in Arrowhead, the Chiefs take down the Bills 27-24. So that's where we find ourselves right now.
Yep.
They're home again against Baltimore in the divisional round. I want you to give me some good news right now, Whit, about what you see happening in this game.
I think that, to my point earlier about James Cook, I think that this is a part of, if I'm going to talk about Ravens Bills, what I think this may be, honestly, one of the top matchups until we get to the championship game for the entire weekend. To me, this is the game. I mean, this is the game everybody's been waiting on. It's the first thing Sean McDermott said when they said, hey, you know what? Everybody's been waiting for this one.
I like that.
That's the reality, right? That's the first thing he said. Josh Allen, hey, these guys thumped us earlier this year. So what I do love is it's been on their minds. And it's something they've been waiting for the opportunity to make right. I saw where we're going to have some possible single-digit weather in Buffalo this weekend.
It's going to be chilly. It's definitely going to be chilly.
You know, you were hoping for this situation. I mean, you know, this is where Buffalo's at their best. Get it cold, get it frigid in there. But I think when you talk about this game, it's really about, all right, let's just be honest. In both situations, even with the Ravens turnaround on defense, the two offenses are what everybody's going to say, hey, who's going to be able to stop who? I mean, both the offenses dominate. But I think James Cook, to me, to my point earlier, him being a part and something that's really like a focus of who they are and what they do, I think that gives them opportunities like what Derrick Henry brings to Lamar Jackson, in the sense of it's not always on your shoulders. Now, obviously, in their sense, Derrick Henry's a big part of it. But I think James Cook brings an element that really makes you think, wow, this Buffalo Bills team is different. But at the same time, we're talking about two teams that forget all the things we think about them offensively, Fitz. They both are living under that shadow of Joe Burrow's beat him. He's been able to take him down. Tom Brady's been able to take him down. But we have never been able to take Patrick Mahomes off the throne. And we are both sitting there saying this week, regardless of how this game goes, this is not just going to be about Mahomes. It's going to be about what we are never able to do, even though I'm Josh Allen and I'm Lamar Jackson, and I have all this regular season success, and I'm great in the wild card round. What happens after that? And they're both sitting there saying, I got to answer that question this week. And I think that's why it's going to make it be an absolute insane football game.
Yeah, I do too. All eyes are going to be on that one Sunday night. I think people point to the game they played earlier this year. The Ravens beat them up 35-10. I think that's why people say, gosh, this is a bad matchup for the Bills. You know, I think they've got to find a way to slow down this running game. And that's easier said than done. The differences from those two games, was chatting with Eric Wood a little bit, who used to play center for the Bills and does their radio broadcast now. First of all, who's going to be in the game on defense for the Bills? It's different. Matt Milano, he's starting to really look healthy and feel comfortable. He didn't play in that game. Terrell Bernard didn't play in that game. Taron Johnson didn't play in that game. So there are dudes that are back. So it's going to be a different looking defense for the Bills, but it is something they've struggled with all year long. The Bills defense is built to have a lead and then to sit back, eyes on the quarterback, and create turnovers. That's not going to be this type of game. This is going to come down to third and fourth down and how these quarterbacks perform on third and fourth down, because now we're going to get those opportunities. Gosh, should they kick the field goal or should they go for it on 4th and 2, 4th and 3, 4th and 4? And you saw Washington last night actually take advantage of that and go for it on some of those fourth downs. That's the type of game this is going to be. And they're going to have those situations. You know, we call them 4-point plays when you're a player. Do we kick it or do we, go for 7, whatever? But they're now 7-point plays for us, because the fourth down is now the new thing. And people are going for it in those situations. And when it's fourth down and you put Josh Allen in shotgun, and when it's fourth down and you put Lamar in shotgun, they have the ability to read it and throw, yes, but they're always going to have that ability to tuck it and run. And that's what this game's going to come down to. And I can't wait. This is going to be the game of the year.
Yeah, it really is. It's really, I think that when you look at the advantages, you go, all right, Baltimore Ravens have been a great rush defense all season long. Even though we've talked about the flip in their secondary, what they have done well, they've been one of the best units in the league all year at stopping the run. Buffalo's really got to decide, is it going to be 6-0 linemen, or is it more about getting more threats on the field and being able to run the ball a little bit with Josh more? I mean, they may have to make that kind of commitment because you're looking for the numbers game in this one. And that's just the truth, right? We're trying to figure out the math equation. But the other part of it for them is, let's think back to how that game ended up, right? Obviously, Baltimore handled them, but what a lot of that part was, Derrick Henry opens the game with an 87-yard touchdown run early in the game. So can you limit the explosives? That's where Baltimore gets used, because Derrick Henry can take it to the house at any point. And for the Buffalo, they've got to make this game a game where, as we've said before, Todd Monken starts calling more passes and thinking we got to play more drop back game. They've got to do that. Is that taking an early lead? Is that trying to erase some of those runs and saying, hey, if they hit us with play action early in this game, we'll take our medicine, but we are going to do whatever it takes to stop the run early? I just think that kind of chess match there of, I think Sean McDermott's going to have some kind of aggression defensively to say, we are not going to sit here and let them just march down the field, play after play after play.
I've got another conundrum about this game. So my son Tate, huge Bills fan, just turned 16. He's nervous about going because the last 3 times he's seen the Bills play, they've lost. And it was 2 of the playoff games, and it was the game we went to, the Rams game. And so he thinks he has cursed the Bills, and I'm trying to talk him out of it.
It's not you, Tate.
It's not you, Tate. But I have been invited to be the legend of the game. I have been invited to come out. You saw Kyle Williams do it last week.
The magic is coming back to Buffalo,
and
baby.
It was so amazing. I'm going to go out. It's such a cool scene. This is a new tradition they've started in the last few years. Get the crowd going a little bit at the very end. There's a Marv Levy phrase, where else would you rather be? And then everybody else, then right here, right now. And you get the crowd juiced. I think I'm going to do it.
Any pregame speeches like Kyle Williams' video? I saw the Kyle Williams video.
Kyle gave a little pregame speech.
He did.
You know what? I think with me, more than words, the fans are expecting some skin,
Yes,
they're expecting some chest hair. They're expecting some back hair. I got to give the people what they want.
Are we working out this week or?
Yeah, I got my rucking. I got my rucking weights to put in my backpack.
Yes. Go ruck, baby.
Got a 30-pounder and a 45-pounder. So I may be asking you for some more advice on that one coming up pretty soon. But
I like that.
What do I have to lay off to look skinnier? Carbs? Should I get a spray tan? What should I do?
Listen, you started with beef stew and a couple Guinness this weekend. I think we're past that. Unbelievable. Well, look, they couldn't have picked a better legend of the game. I know that's going to be epic, and I'll look forward to seeing your chest hair.
Maybe potentially Sunday night.
Potentially.
We'll see.
Potentially. Yeah. Well, you already told us you were going to give the people what they want. I think you've got to let the cat out of the bag on that one. But Fitz, we talked a lot about Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, but
yeah,
speaking of top 5 QBs, got to talk about Justin Herbert. We got to do it. Let's get into it a little bit. Talking to takes this year. And I will say this before you go. I want you to kind of give your take of the weekend and how that game went. I don't think that what you actually, I hate the word take. This is what I'm about to say, because I think sometimes it comes off as that's like a hateful thing, or I'm like trying to take a shot at somebody because I have a thought. And in reality, I think as players, and I think sometimes that's where it gets confused for us, is like as a player, there's things that I say, hey, I need to be better at these things if I want to take this next step in my career. Every single year, I'd be playing in a season and I'd be going, next offseason, here's the 4 or 5 things that I have to address this offseason to take that next step of who I want to be. And I really thought your take was more about that Justin Herbert has all kinds of crazy talent and abilities. He's dominating a certain window of what he does, but there's these other windows that the great quarterbacks are really good in that you just haven't seen him excel in yet.
Yeah.
And I'll let you go.
Well, thank you, Andrew. Yeah, it was just it's an interesting thing because essentially like he's not in the top 5 is what I said. And then all of a sudden it went to, well, that means you hate him. That means you think he's horrible. And it's like, no, it's confusing to me because historically what everybody has done in their first 5 seasons, he's at the top when we're talking about numbers, but he's not at the top when we're having that conversation of who's in the top 5 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Again, I root for Justin Herbert. And me and you talk about this all the time now. You almost start to not like him because of how awful the Chargers fans are. Like it's just the Twitter conversations and shots from Chargers fans. Like I tried.
Glad you said that. I bought something when I was in Colorado.
Oh boy, would you? Anytime we see a damn lightning bolt in a comment on Twitter, it's just insufferable. Everything about it. There's some things that he's going to have to do to get himself in that category, and he didn't do it. And I'm not going to pile on. I think the Chargers are headed in the right direction. I think culture-wise, they had a complete reset this year. I think they were the top defense in the NFL statistically in a lot of different things this year. Ladd McConkey, the playoff game he just had, was insane. He's got a guy. They need more guys.
Don't forget about Joe Alt.
They've got Joe Alt.
They drafted a weapon.
Yeah. I mean, Harbaugh called him a weapon. I get it.
A weapon. He's a great player. Listen, they got 2 great tackles. Obviously, they got to figure out long term there. That's those situations. But I also think that much less the talent they added, there's some moments this season where you could say in the past, whatever people call it, chargering or everything else, that they overcame those kind of moments. And they did the opposite of that. They finished the game. They found a way to win. They came up in big moments and won games they needed to win. And so I think to me, isn't it sitting here saying, hey, talking about, obviously Justin Herbert did not have the performance he wanted to have in the playoffs. That's a fact. That neither did the Chargers as a whole. Khalil Mack's talking about he's trying to decide whether he's going to retire or not. It sounds like those guys want him back really bad. And they're going to try, Derwin James is saying, I'm talking him into going one more. And he's saying, listen, Khalil Mack's been on some bad teams, and he's like, hey, if there's any team that I would come back to, it would be here because of how special this locker room and this group is. And I think Harbaugh has created that. So if I'm a Chargers fan, is it the performance we wanted? No. Do I think long-term they are in a great spot? Yes, I do think they're in a great spot. I think they're going to continue to add talent on offense and improve on defense. And I think that this team is going to be just like we said about the Broncos. I think this AFC West is only continuing to get better and better around the Chiefs. And so I'm excited if I'm a Chargers fan. I'm disappointed, but I didn't think this Chargers team was winning the Super Bowl anyways. And here's the reality you have to come down to. The season ends. Everybody's depressed except for one football team. Every single football team is sad. So you know what? You'll get over being sad. A lot of good moments happen for you this season. Let's get ready to move forward to next season and see how we take the next step.
Heading in the right direction. And I will say when I did my little parlay of the picks, just picking money line winners, this was the one game I stayed away from because I didn't know what Houston team was going to show up and I didn't know what Chargers team was going to show up. And you hate to get your parlay ruined with the first pick. And I just could not come up with I think if they play, maybe it's 5-5, but that ended up being, the worst possible outcome. But we were sitting there watching the beginning of that game. And when they went up 3-0 with the field goal, then they got the big turnover and they went up 6-0. You looked at me and you said, this doesn't bode well for the Chargers.
Nope. I don't like it. I don't like starts where everything goes your direction. And then you look up and you go, wait, we're only up 1 score. And everything that could possibly happen in a positive for us has been there. To me, that concerned me because that usually means the other team is stepping on their foot a little bit and you've created no separation. But when things balance out here in a minute, because a lot of times in these playoff games, there's this extra emotion, there's extra anxiety. Everybody's reaching a little bit, you're going to throw a ball a little hard. You're going to try to throw a check down. You're going to take the running back's head off because you're so excited. You're going to make a bad decision, or you're going to not throw it because you're scared to make a bad decision because you're so antsy, or you're going to miss a tackle, whatever it may be. And then it kind of, after the first 10 minutes, it's like, all right, it's all going to settle in. and the better team's going to become the better team. And to start one of those games and not have that big lead, I knew that was trouble for them.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to watch this next one, the Texans and the Chiefs. I think the biggest question for me going into it is now a lot of those Chiefs players, and you've spoke about this before, just time off. It's been a couple weeks now, and it's like, how do you come out of that thing hitting on all cylinders? How do you come out of that thing and gain the momentum right away? This is one of those games where you can't let the Texans believe that they belong in this game, because the longer you let them believe they belong in the game, then the more they're going to start believing in them themselves, and they're going to capture that momentum. This Texans secondary is talented, man.
Oh, dude.
They're good on defense. They fly around. D'Amico and the energy that he brings. And I know that C.J. Stroud, a great season last year, has taken a step back this year for a lot of, variety of different reasons. But it was nice to see him make some throws in that game. They really have, coming down the stretch, struggled on offense. And so you have to rely on Nico Collins in this play to make some, or in this game to make some big plays. And you got to rely on Joe Mixon to step up. But if they're gonna win this game, they've got to take it from the Chiefs, and CJ Stroud is going to have to elevate his game to a new level.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We've obviously talked about the Chiefs' offensive line situation at tackle, all season long. You're going to be going against two of the best this season. These two edge rushers, and Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson. I mean, they have created pressure on everybody. They've been great. Obviously, the secondary, like you just said, is fantastic and has been getting better and better. So this is a real, however the game goes, this is a real Texans defense. They are for real. So as a Chiefs offense, you're going to have to ready to go. You're going to have to perform well. This isn't some easy defense to go against. D'Amico Ryans is played and been in these moments, and he will have them ready to ride. And hey, we get a chance to go take down the champs. I mean, that will be their mantra all week long. And what you do love, like you said about seeing CJ have some plays, I love seeing Joe Mixon back in the mix. This was a part of who they were during their run when they were early, their early success in the season. Is obviously CJ is a tremendous young player, but Joe Mixon brings a violence and an attitude and this scheme that if they can dial it up and they can run the football well and take some shots off of it, they've got to scare you a little bit, just because if I had a bye as an offense that we've had some struggles at certain spots and we're coming out of that bye, and we're playing a defense that's literally exactly all the things that we really have kind of struggled with a little bit.
Yeah.
This is not a fun one. But the Texans, like you said, they're going to have to go play perfect football. And they need the Chiefs to make some mistakes, I think, still to win this game. But it can't be one that the Chiefs will just be sitting there going, man, this is exactly who we'd want to play. They got to be a little nervous about this one.
Yeah. Quick sidebar on D'Amico Ryans. When he was playing for Philly, he picked off one of my passes and tore his Achilles, fumbled the ball. We got it back. Was awful. I mean, we got it back, so that was fun. Gosh, who the heck was I playing for? I don't know. I was playing for, I was playing for one of the teams I threw an interception on.
So you're saying you've been intercepted a few times?
Whenever I think of D'Amico Ryans, it's the first thing that goes through my mind. Man, I hate that happened to him. I hate that happened to him, but we did get the ball back. So we're rooting for you, D'Amico.
Yeah, baby.
This is the Fitz and Whit podcast presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Whit, we've talked about the AFC side of the playoff bracket. Let's turn to the NFC. Today is, again, all about taking some credit, getting some blame for some of our hotter takes of the season. Baby. Accountability. I got to throw my hand up here. You were trying to make me tell you from week 11 on, since you were all set on the Lions and the Eagles, 1 seed, 2 seed, going at it. I just didn't want to make the prediction, but it sure looks like your prediction is heading in the right direction. Those Eagles, it was an interesting game with the Packers. I mean, I thought in general, the wild card games, besides the last one, the Tampa Commanders one, were kind of meh. And this was kind of one of those meh games, but you were there.
I was there.
You made it to the game. I actually want to hear how you got to the game first. And then I have some beef with you, and I'm not very happy about it.
Well, I took the train, you'd be proud of me, back from Baltimore to Philly, on Sunday morning. I went and checked into Al Michaels' favorite hotel in America, the Four Seasons Philly.
That view from the top of the Four Seasons, Unbelievable.
That view, the elevator ride. I filmed it. Don't worry. I filmed it for you.
You did. Of course you did. Yeah. Yeah.
I unfortunately showed up and they had a Sunday buffet, and I did some really bad things to the buffet, but felt bad about myself.
General admission ticket, or where'd you sit during the...
I had a ticket to the game, sitting with some of the old Eagle legends, a couple guys you might know.
Stop right there, because this is what I want to talk to you about. So I don't find out any of this until I'm on Twitter thumbing around and I see a tweet from Chris Long, and it's Chris Long, and it's Jason Kelsey, and it's one of my best friends in the world, Bo Allen. And who's the fourth guy? Andrew Whitworth. I found out that you were cheating on me on Twitter, and it hurt my heart a little bit. It hurt my heart that you were hanging out with those guys, and especially Bo. If you steal Bo Allen from me as a friend, I'm not going to be very happy.
Well, Bo was Bo. That was fantastic. We had a great time hanging at the game. On my way, I didn't ask for any special assistance getting in. I went in with the fans. Let me tell you something, Fitz. I will say this. The Philadelphia Eagle experience in the link, that is unbelievable. I'm going with the fans. I can't say all the words, but the chants, the profanity, the everything.
Yeah.
Dude, it was awesome. The music, it's unbelievable. Going in with all the fans, people kept looking like double takes, like, wait, no way, it's Whitworth. Like, it was so cool. A lot of them were like blown away. Like, here's this dude just, what are you doing here? First off. And so I'm going up and I'm sitting there thinking about Lane Johnson, obviously last week, didn't make all pro team as the first team guy. And he's a guy that I think he is the best right tackle in football. In my opinion, I think Penei Sewell and him are both great players. I think Lane Johnson is still elite, and you got to take the title belt from the champ, in my opinion. And nobody's done that yet. So I was like, what can I do? I go, you know what? I'm going to go in this pro shop, grab a Lane Johnson jersey. So I go in there, I grab a Lane Johnson jersey.
Double X? Triple X? What?
I went double only because I was wearing my big aloe hoodie. So I needed some space.
Yep.
But almost got in the X. I was real proud of myself. So I go up to the suite. Kels and Chris and them died laughing like, oh my God, you're wearing a freaking Lane Johnson jersey. But I was like, let's do it. And then sure enough, what happens? They put me on the Jumbotron in the middle of the game with my Lane Johnson. Oh, yeah.
Everybody was like, what is Fetterman doing here at the game?
Exactly. So Matt LaFleur is probably like, F my buddy for putting an Eagles jersey on.
Screw this guy.
But then I got to talk to all the Eagles O-linemen after the game, and they were like, oh, dude, it was great. They were giddy about it. Lane was giddy about it. It was fun.
That's awesome.
So it was a cool moment. But I'm going to tell you something. That was cool. The game, awful. I mean, ugly football game.
I don't really want to talk about the game that much because I don't think it was that interesting. Yeah, the Eagles won. They move on. But I think, the next game we'll talk about that because that'll be interesting. I do want to talk about real quick, if you're the Packers, what do you feel right now on the season? We talked about earlier, the Broncos, They're pumped. But the Packers, they're so talented. They're so young and they're so talented. I think this has to be a letdown. I think it has to be a letdown that they were seated where they were, that they finished the year with I think, it ends up being 3 losses in a row now. Obviously, you're always going to end the season in a loss unless you win the Super Bowl, but losing those last 2 late. And then for me, Jordan Love. And everything now is about stats and numbers. And, his last 8 games, 10-1 interception, a touchdown to interception ratio. And you point to certain things. His passer rating was as high, if not a little bit higher than last year. My thing with Jordan Love, and you just have to ask yourself, if you're a Packers fan, if you're in that locker room, do you have the belief like the Commanders do right now in Jaden Daniels? Do you have the belief in Jordan Love when you're down a score in the fourth quarter and you have the ball and you have to go down and score a touchdown? Do you have the belief that he's going to do it?
Yeah.
And right now, my answer is I don't know. And he still has room to grow, and there's some amazing things that he does. And I love LaFleur and what he does. Josh Jacobs had a sensational year. Their offensive line has played really well. They've got so many young, talented receivers, but that's still the question mark that I have coming out of this season with Jordan Love. I don't know. Sometimes yes, sometimes no, but it's not a definitive answer right now. And that's the path of this franchise is going to depend on him making that a definitive yes as they move forward.
Yeah, and you kind of think of like this group of quarterbacks in this little era right now for him, right? And C.J. Stroud and Jaden Daniels, and like, what are some things you say first off about them, regardless of like how good you think they are too? I kind of feel like they just elevate the guys around them a little bit, and like, man, the team almost plays better just with who they are. And I just don't know if you feel that way with Jordan Love right now, or do you feel like, in my opinion, when I went into this Eagles-Packers game, the reason I thought the Eagles could win is if Jalen Hurts and Jordan Love both have a bad game, the Eagles could still win the game because they're just that much better. But the Packers need Jordan Love to play great to have a chance to win. And then for him to go in there and one of the first throws of the game was like, oh my God, I don't know what he saw on this ball, but it was an interception, but it definitely should have been. I was like, oh no, like if he's going to see it like that, they're in a lot of trouble from the jump. And that story kind of continued throughout the game. And so I think that's the thing, is a lot of cool stats, a lot of success that's been had in a great situation. You feel great about Josh Jacobs and the running game they've built around this, but going into the offseason, how do we get Jordan Love to this place where we feel like, all right, he almost brings the expectations up, rather than do we kind of like sit around and wait to see what we're going to get out of him each and every week?
Yeah, and he's going into his now third year of playing. So there's time for growth there. You hope to see it, but I think we got to start seeing it soon with him and starting to get that unwavering belief and confidence in him at the end of the games.
Yeah, third year playing, but not third year in the league. So it's a big difference in the how fast it's got to move.
For sure. And just good segue to this next quarterback. My God, Jaden Daniels.
We don't need any more time.
It doesn't make sense to me. Even watching the DC doink at the end of the game, he's watching that field goal go through the uprights and there's zero emotion. I mean, the man is an absolute killer. He got put in so many situations where they had to have it on third and then especially on fourth down. And he just continued to do it over and over and over again. Even on the last drive, I thought it was so cool. You know, you love listening to these guys after the game. Terry McLaurin after the game, they had the ball. I think it was 4+ minutes left, whatever it was. And they love the fact in the huddle, they're sitting there smiling because they knew not just that they had the opportunity to win the game and close it out, but that they were going to drive the length of the field and win the game and close it out. So cool. They've done it so many times on the last play of the year, and the poise that this kid shows, even on that last drive, he threw an in-cut on third down at the beginning of, maybe his first or second third down of the drive, where you're just looking at him like, I mean, to be able to read the field, to see what he saw, the accuracy, the calmness in the pocket, he's absolutely amazing. I think I'm running out of words to describe like how poised this kid is.
He is. He's exactly what I just talked about, his ability, that it's not just how good he plays, but it just feels like he elevates the expectation level of everybody around him. You look in this game, Fitz, he was 9 of 15 for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns on third and fourth down dropbacks, picking up 8 first downs in that. So, I mean, absolutely ridiculous in the big moments. When you need it, you have to have it. He was big. It also made me think about this. Can you imagine how in the world, as an LSU Tiger fan, we had Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, and Brian Thomas Jr., and I don't think we won anything. Okay?
Yeah,
how is that possible?
That's insane.
I mean, think about it. The last trio they had, though, let's talk about the trio right before that one. Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase, right? And look at their success.
Okay. Yeah.
It's making me, I don't know. Now it's making me worried as a Tiger fan. We got to do more if we got that. But unbelievable performance from Jaden Daniels, man. I'm excited to see if he can make some noise going into Detroit. Let's see what happens.
Oh, it's gonna be awesome. And on the other side of it, the Bucs, the two plays you point to in that game, that obviously they had the speed sweep where Baker snaps a little bit late, still tries to hand it off, it gets fumbled. That was obviously a very costly moment in the game. And then late, they had the 3rd and 1, kind of messing around with the snap count a little bit. The center snaps it early. You could tell when that happens, when nobody else moves and just the center. And then everybody's like, oh, crap, we got to go. They end up losing yardage on that one and having to kick a field goal rather than going for the touchdown, which ended up proving costly to them. But 2 huge mistakes that they made. I don't know that it takes away from how amazing this season has been for them. I think they're disappointed. I think the fans are disappointed because both of us talked about it. We thought they could really make some noise in this playoff.
Yep.
But, Baker, what an unbelievable season he had. We had the Mike Evans moment, but I think there are some questions going into this offseason. Todd Bowles, 61 years old, Liam Cohen, he's going to be a hot candidate. He's already, I think, either done some interviews or been called to do an interview in Jacksonville. What does this team look like next year? I don't know. What do you think lies ahead for this Bucs team this offseason?
Yeah, I think that is a question because Liam Cohen is a guy that everywhere I've been, somebody asks me about him and like, hey, what's your feeling on this guy? What's the word? What's the vibe? Could he be a head coach? Could he lead a room? Because when your name's getting thrown around that much and that often, and you see the success they've had, how ridiculously good this Bucs offense was, even with losing some guys throughout the year. I think it is an interesting offseason, but I put them in that Chargers boat to me of, I don't know if I thought they were a Super Bowl contending team. Or actually, I know I didn't. But I did think it was an amazing story. It's awesome to see them have what I call you can make a great shot and then can you make the next one? It's like last year they built a little momentum with Baker and he played good, but they needed to do some things better. This year they come in, they develop the run game with Liam Cohen. They take this next step as an offense. Defensively, I think they've got some real pieces they got to figure out. They need some true edge rushers. There's some things they need to do defensively to be better. But how do they handle that? Is it Todd Bowles? Do you move on to Liam Cohen? And then how do you make this defense be able to kind of stop people in a better way? Because they had some moments, we had the game in Atlanta. They gave up 500-something yards. You just can't have as a defensive head coach. And so you got to fix that. But I'm excited. I think that, like I said, you backed it up. Another year of growth, another year looking better. Let's look forward to the future if I'm a Tampa Bay Buck of what's to come.
Yeah, I definitely had them in a different category than the Chargers because they were in the feisty category for me in the playoffs where they could have reeled off a couple of wins.
Well, I can tell you, being in Philly, Fitz, a number of former players are like, hey, we want the Commanders to win bad. I mean, because I think for them, you remember they beat them earlier this season, and I don't think they felt like we match up great with a Tampa team. Like, this is a team that could come in here. They're good enough on offense and defense to really be kind of a problem for us because of how they're built. They can stop the run, and then Todd Bowles can dial it up enough to probably limit us a little bit in the pass game.
Yeah. Well, so the Commanders and the Lions now, the thing that you have to be able to keep up with the Lions. They're going to put up points. Yeah. We know that. This Commanders team, they can put up points.
There will be all fourth downs. It's 4-down territory the whole game.
We won't see Tressway or Fox in the game. There will be no punting. The stat they showed during the game, the Commanders have been awesome on fourth down, like historically awesome on fourth down. And obviously we know the story with Dan Campbell there. I just want to give flowers real quick to Terry McLaurin. So cool to see him not just get in the playoffs, but excel in the playoffs, move on to the next round. He's a guy that has been there. He's been through a lot of different quarterbacks. They've been pulling guys off the trash heap for a while, even if they only gave him 15 plays. But so cool to see that he has a guy that this franchise has been completely transformed, but he always was professional. He always showed up. He never disparaged anybody, never threw anybody under the bus. And he's been a leader on that team and in that locker room from the moment he's got there. So awesome to see him. Looking forward.
Yep.
And look, there's going to be a ton of man coverage in this game against the Lions. And Scary Terry is a guy that can get busy. Yes, his ability to go down the field and make those acrobatic catches, but also slant routes, crossing routes, things like that, where you can get it to him on the move where he can catch and run. I think that's going to be an awesome thing to look forward to. And also, I'm taking the over on Jaden Daniels' rushing yards in this game. I don't care what they set it at. I'm taking the over.
I love that. Hey, listen, shout out to Scary Terry. I had him in a little parlay yesterday for touchdown scoring with Mike Evans, so I was very happy. So thank you, Scary Terry. I appreciate you, big fella. The little Whitworths will appreciate their lunch next week. But also, man, we talk about elevating guys. De'Ami Brown stepping up big in this game.
Dude,
another guy, great example.
Hold on. No, I'm staying on De'Ami Brown for a second because I'm telling you, he was a rookie when I got there. When I'm telling you, I loved De'Ami Brown. And I felt so bad the last few years because he's on Amon-Ra St. Brown's list of guys that got drafted over him. So he always gets dragged through the mud because, he's not Amon-Ra, whatever. This kid, I'm so happy to see the success that he just had. And he really does seem to be developing every year. It was great to see him show up in that game because I'm telling you, I love De'Ami. He can take the top off of a defense. You saw him run over a dude in that last game. Happy for Diami having some success in Washington.
Yeah, and DQ, man. What a great human being, leader of men. That dude is a tremendous coach, and happy for him to get that dub because he deserves it, man. He does it the right way.
Well, and the other two, Bobby Wagner and Zach Ertz. Sometimes these guys, it's like when they signed in Washington, and it's like, well, yeah, but I don't know, they're going to win. Why are you going there? I mean, just extending your career to see those guys who have had great careers, especially a guy like Bobby Wagner, who, if you look at PFF, I mean, he's one of the best linebackers in the league this year. Sherm has talked to us a ton about his leadership, about how he uplifts people. You're just happy for guys like that have given so much to this game to see them have success like they're having.
Yeah, it's not a shocker to see them have success when you talk about Dan Quinn, Bobby Wagner, and Jaden Daniels, the human beings themselves, the Terry McLaurin as well. There's a bunch of guys you can throw on that list. The Commanders got a bright future.
Yeah, I just want to end it with this. You are now tonight, and when people listen to this, it'll be, the night before, but you are going to your third playoff game in 3 days.
The trifecta, baby.
This is weird that we're not doing the podcast in the same room because we're both in the state of Arizona right now. But I am so excited for you to be able to see your Rams play tonight against the Vikings. What we're going to do, I'm going to tune in with you after the game, whether it's FaceTime or something else, and hopefully we can get your instant reaction after the game and throw it on to the end of this pod, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. Hitting the trifecta. It was a great opportunity. I have an amazing wife in Melissa and my kids who I was talking to them when we were in Baltimore. And Melissa's like, well, if you're going to Phoenix and you want to go be there, that's great. That's awesome. I think you should. But why wouldn't you just stay east and go to the Philly game? And it's like, you know what, babe? Why
she's
not?
A football wife, man.
She's a football. Hey,
she loves
that's an O-lineman's wife right there. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's been amazing.
Well, I'm looking forward. Can you give me a prediction on the game and maybe we could just do two, so we'll cut one of them out so you look like a genius. I really do want you to give me my prediction of the game real quick, so then we can point at you and laugh or say that you're a genius.
Well, here it is. Both predictions will be the Rams win, only because I'm a homer and I'm going to say that either way. But let's do real quick. Let's look at it. Rams beat them in Thursday Night Football, our game, way back week 6, I think it was. And the Vikings didn't lose another game until they played the Detroit Lions. So they catch them off of a loss. We'll see how they respond. Last time they played, the Vikings didn't blitz Stafford hardly at all. And Stafford had an insane night. Van Ginkel will not make any plays tonight. No, I'm kidding.
The Ginkler.
The difference in the game. Shirt.
The Ginkler, baby. Rip Van Ginkel.
I think what I'm going to see tonight, Fitz, I think we're going to see the Vikings. They're going to heat it up. Last time they didn't do it, and Stafford torched them, and I think they were trying to mix it up on McVay. I think tonight they're going to bring the heat, and they're going to say, all right, prove it that you can play that way, because this has actually been, for Stafford, one of his worst years as far as against pressure and blitzes. His success rate has not been as good. And so not that he's played bad, but just for whatever reason, they haven't been as successful. So big night. Obviously, it's here in Arizona. They moved the game because of the fires. So it's going to be an emotional night. It's about rallying really the LA community here in Phoenix, and then also sending some love back home to LA to those that are struggling. So I wanted to be here to be a part of the organization, be a part of giving some of that love and appreciation to all those Rams fans that are here. So I will definitely jump back on with you tonight post-game, and we'll give a little love back and see how it went. And hopefully, maybe I'm celebrating a Rams victory. And if I'm not, it's the Minnesota Vikings, Kevin O'Connell, and an organization we've talked about a ton of times on this podcast that we love, Brian Flores and those guys. And so, listen, I'll be happy for them as well. I just will be a little upset for my Rams.
All right. Well, when you call me tonight, when we can catch up, it's Maisie's birthday. So I'm going to act like you're calling me to wish my 12-year-old daughter, Maisie, a birthday. Yeah.
Happy birthday, Maise.
Yeah. Tell Maise happy birthday. But thank you, dude. Have fun tonight. All right, Whit, this show is about takes. You told us the Rams were going to win. You said they were right about resting their starters last week, and here we are. They pull off the upset against the Minnesota Vikings. What do you think?
Listen, I'm sure Scott Van Pelt and Ryan Clark right there are sitting there talking about it on ESPN. Here's the reality, man. As I said, the Vikings were 3-3 against playoff teams. They didn't have a winning record against playoff teams. They are 11-0, and your schedule matters. They didn't beat a whole lot of good teams. Yes, they're a good football team. But my point is it doesn't mean that they're that much better than the Rams, and we saw that tonight.
And Matthew Stafford shows up. Kyron Williams shows up, but it's that Rams defense. How well do they play tonight?
I mean, unbelievable. You know, we talked about this when we said, hey, rest the guys in week 18, limit the snaps. And to me, my point is when you talk about an offense that's led by a bunch of veterans and Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp and Rob Havenstein and Tyler Higbee, you want to rest those guys up to be feeling well. But on the other side of it, you're built off youth and their energy, their passion. That's what's going to lead them to playing great on that side of the football, because they're not going to be as talented. They're not going to be as experienced. But what they can play with is an energy and an enthusiasm. And you saw that at Jared Verse and this freaking group up front. They were bringing it all night long.
Hey, I also just wanted to say real quick, a shout out to you. You did a great job at the beginning of the game in front of the national audience. How did that whole thing get set up? You look prepared. You always are. And what a great message you shared to the nation about L.A.
Yeah, I mean, it really came from the league and Commissioner Goodell, just an opportunity for me to address the LA fans and the city of Los Angeles and the outskirt regions, just with everything that's going on. And, live, I didn't know the Beyonce stage was coming out that I had to go stand on, but
you look good, but you owned it.
Outside of that, it was a great experience. It was, just in that moment, man, you're just coming from the heart. My only goal was to not cry on national TV in that moment. I accomplished that, although I was emotional. What an amazing night, though, for this franchise, for this city. Really special. I mean, obviously, Arizona, this franchise hosted the Rams here. They made it unbelievable. Let them borrow their planes, their facility, their, practice facility and stadium. They were unbelievable to them. But then also all these Los Angeles fans, a lot coming by buses, any way they could get here. Man, you got to feel special to be a part of this organization, for these players to pull this off with a lot on their hearts this week. Man, what an awesome thing. I mean, it's another one of these things that makes the NFL so special and what it is.
Yeah, I mean, we all know you're a big teddy bear. You got a huge heart. That's why everybody loves you, man. But your third game in 3 nights, go enjoy it with the guys. Tell Sean McVay we said hello and congratulations, and have a safe trip back, man.
I appreciate it, brother. That was an amazing night, man. Vamos Rams, as I said. Peace.
All right, get out of here. The one thing I'll recap about the show, or about that game there, Sam Darnold, there just starts to become question marks, unfortunately, after the last 2 games. And it sucks because, the guy, he resurrected his career. He played so well this year. And unfortunately, in the last 2 games, he didn't have his best games. And those were the ones where the lights were shining brightest on him. And, it just seemed like he wanted it too bad this game a little bit. And, Sam, he's going to be a starter in the league again next year. He did have a great season. I think as we get removed from these last few games, those Vikings fans are going to remember all the great memories and all the great moments from this season. It's really disappointing for them right now. They're disappointed they didn't get the 1 seed and beat Detroit, and I'm sure they're disappointed with the first-round exit with the season that they put together. But they've got a lot to be proud of this year. Kevin O'Connell, great job. Brian Flores, great job. And this team has some question marks moving forward now, what they're going to do at the quarterback position. Will they re-sign Sam? I think it's the right move. Do I think Sam Darnold cost himself a few $1 million the last 2 weeks? Yes, I do. But Sam should be the starter of this football team moving forward. And, obviously they've got J.J. McCarthy waiting in the wings. So we will see what happens there. It's a really disappointing ending to the season for Minnesota and Minnesota fans. But they did have a great year, a year that was certainly unexpected. And they overachieved, for what the preseason expectation was. Yes, there's a birthday party going on at my house. Yes, there's a lot of yelling and screaming. It's time for me to go eat some birthday cake. This has been the Fitz and Whit podcast. At least it's still called that for now.
For right now.
We'll see what happens. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Let's do it again next week when we have the final 8 teams reduced to 4. Buffalo Bills. Can't wait to see it. We'll recap the divisional round. We'll preview the championship round. And will Whit's season-long, it's going to be the Lions and the Eagles prediction actually pay off?
Oh, also, Fitz, we're going to go over who wins the MVP Bowl. Bills, Ravens.
Come on, Josh.
We'll also see whether Fitz takes his shirt off or not. And will KC's dreams of a three-peat still be alive next week? We have it all, baby.
Anybody can tell you what happened. We will tell you how it happened next time on Fitz and Whit. See you then. Later.
Peace.